VALIS, acronym of Vast Active Living Intelligence System, from an American film. A perturbation in the reality field in which a spontaneous, self-monitoring negentropic vortex is formed, tending progressively to subsume and incorporate its environment into arrangements of information, characterized by quasi-consciousness, purpose, intelligence, growth, and an armillary coherence. Great Soviet Dictionary, 6th edition, 1992. 1. Horselover Fat's nervous breakdown began the day he got the phone call from Gloria asking if he had any Nembutols. He asked her why she wanted them, and she said that she intended to kill herself. She was calling everyone she knew. By now she had 50 of them, but she needed 30 or 40 more to be on the safe side. At once, Horselover Fat leaped to the conclusion that this was her way of asking for help. It had been Fat's delusion for years that he could help people. His psychiatrist once told him that to get well he would have to do 2 things: get off dope, which he hadn't done, and to stop trying to help people. He still tried to help people. As a matter of fact, he had no Nembutols. He had no sleeping pills of any sort. He never did sleeping pills. He did uppers. So giving Gloria sleeping pills by which she could kill herself was beyond his power. Anyhow, he wouldn't have done it if he could. "I have 10, he said, because if he told her the truth, she would hang up. "Then I'll drive up to your place," Gloria said in a rational, calm voice, the same tone in which she had asked for the pills. He realized then that she was not asking for help. She was trying to die. She was completely crazy. If she were sane, she would realize that it was necessary to veil her purpose, because this way she made him guilty of complicity. For him to agree, he would need to want her dead. No motive existed for him, or anyone, to want that. Gloria was gentle and civilized, but she dropped a lot of acid. It was obvious that the acid, since he had last heard from her 6 months ago, had wrecked her mind. "What have you been doing?" Fat asked. "I've been in Mount Zion Hospital in San Francisco. I tried suicide, and my mother committed me. They discharged me last week." "Are you cured?" he said. "Yes," she said. That's when Fat began to go nuts. At the time he didn't know it, but he had been drawn into an unspeakable psychological game. There was no way out. Gloria Knudsen had wrecked him, her friend, along with her own brain. Probably she had wrecked 6 or 7 other people, all friends who loved her, along the way, with similar phone conversations. She had undoubtedly destroyed her mother and father as well. Fat heard in her rational tone the harp of nihilism, the twang of the void. He was not dealing with a person. He had a reflex arc thing at the other end of the phone line. What he did not know then is that it is sometimes an appropriate response to reality to go insane. To listen to Gloria rationally asked to die was to inhale the contagion. It was a Chinese finger trap, where the harder you pull to get out, the tighter the trap gets. "Where are you now?" he asked. "Modesto, at my parents' home." Since he lived in Marin County, she was several hours' drive away. Few inducements would have gotten him to make such a drive. This was another serving up of lunacy. 3 hours' drive each way for 10 Nembutols. Why not just total the car? Gloria was not even committing her irrational act rationally. "Thank you, Tim Leary," Fat thought. "You and your promotion of the joy of expanded consciousness through dope." He did not know his own life was on the line. This was 1971. In 1972, he would be up north in Vancouver, British Columbia, involved in trying to kill himself, alone, poor and scared, in a foreign city. Right now he was spared that knowledge. All he wanted to do was coax Gloria up to Marin County so he could help her. One of God's greatest mercies is that he keeps us perpetually occluded. In 1976, totally crazy with grief, Horselover Fat would slit his wrist, the Vancouver suicide attempt having failed, take 49 tablets of high-grade digitalis, and sit in a closed garage with his car motor running, and fail there, too. Well, the body has powers unknown to the mind. Gloria's mind had total control over her body. She was rationally insane. Most insanity can be identified with the bizarre and the theatrical. You put a pan on your head and a towel around your waist, paint yourself purple, and go outdoors. Gloria was as calm as she had ever been, polite and civilized. If she had lived in ancient Rome or Japan, she would have gone unnoticed. Her driving skills probably remained unimpaired. She would stop at every red light and not exceed the speed limit on her trip to pick up the 10 Nembutols. I am Horselover Fat, and I am writing this in the third person to gain much-needed objectivity. I did not love Gloria Knudsen, but I liked her. In Berkeley, she and her husband had given elegant parties, and my wife and I always got invited. Gloria spent hours fixing little sandwiches and served different wines, and she dressed up and looked lovely with her sandy-colored, short-cut curly hair. Anyhow, Horselover Fat had no Nembutol to give her, and a week later Gloria threw herself out of a 10th-floor window of the Synanon building in Oakland, California, and smashed herself to bits on the pavement along MacArthur Boulevard, and Horselover Fat continued his insidious, long decline into misery and illness, the sort of chaos that astrophysicists say is the fate in store for the whole universe. Fat was ahead of his time, ahead of the universe. Eventually he forgot what event had started off his decline into entropy. God mercifully occludes us to the past as well as the future. For 2 months, after he learned of Gloria's suicide, he cried and watched TV and took more dope. His brain was going too, but he didn't know it. Infinite are the mercies of God. As a matter of fact, Fat had lost his own wife the year before to mental illness. It was like a plague. No one could discern how much was due to drugs. This time in America, 1960 to 1970, and this place, the Bay Area of Northern California, was totally fucked. I'm sorry to tell you this, but that's the truth. Fancy terms and ornate theories cannot cover this fact up. The authorities became as psychotic as those they hunted. They wanted to put all persons who were not clones of the establishment away. The authorities were filled with hate. Fat had seen police glower at him with the ferocity of dogs. The day they moved Angela Davis, the black Marxist, out of the Marin County Jail, the authorities dismantled the whole civic center. This was to baffle radicals who might intend trouble. The elevators got unwired, doors got relabeled with spurious information. The district attorney hid. Fat saw all this. He had gone to the Civic Center that day to return a library book. At the electronic hoop at the Civic Center entrance, 2 cops had ripped open the book and papers that Fat carried. He was perplexed. The whole day perplexed him. In the cafeteria, an armed cop watched everyone eat. Fat returned home by cab, afraid of his own car and wondering if he was nuts. He was, but so was everyone else. I am by profession a science fiction writer. I deal in fantasies. My life is a fantasy. Nonetheless, Gloria Knudsen lies in a box in Modesto, California. There's a photo of her funeral wreaths in my photo album. It's a color photo, so you can see how lovely the wreaths are. In the background, a VW is parked. I can be seen crawling into the VW in the midst of the service. I am not able to take any more. After the graveside service, Gloria's former husband Bob and I, and some tearful friend of his, and hers, had a late lunch at a fancy restaurant in Modesto near the cemetery. The waitress seated us in the rear because the 3 of us looked like hippies even though we had suits and ties on. We didn't give a shit. I don't remember what we talked about. The night before, Bob and I mean Bob and Horselover Fat, drove to Oakland to see the movie Patton. Just before the graveside service, Fat met Gloria's parents for the first time. Like their deceased daughter, they treated him with utmost civility. A number of Gloria's friends stood around the corny California ranch-style living room, recalling the person who linked them together. Naturally, Mrs. Knudsen wore too much makeup. Women always put on too much makeup when someone dies. Fat petted the dead girl's cat, Chairman Mao. He remembered the few days Gloria had spent with him upon her futile trip to his house for the Nembutol, which he did not have. She greeted the disclosure of his lie with aplomb, even a neutrality. When you are going to die, you do not care about small things. I took them, Fat had told her, lie upon lie.